Okay, I will call the meeting to order.
Recording in progress.
Chair Roman,
Present.
Vice Chair Willis,
Present.
Board Member Ulinskas,
Present.
Board Member Eagleson Chesowich,
Present.
Board Member Pease.
Present.
For the record, we have quorum.
Great. Are there any agenda changes today?
No changes planned for today.
Perfect. And any public comment before we get started?
Through the chair, I've received no public comment cards and no raise hands on Zoom.
Great. Then we can move to the first item on the agenda.
All right. Well, good morning and welcome to our first meeting of 2026. Let me share my screen. As detailed in that packet, here are the projected meeting dates for the 2026 year. And if there are any planned absences, please direct that to staff's attention and we can note that for the record. I did want to provide a brief update regarding a previous item that had gone to the Historic Resources Board. This was a December 15th City Council. It was originally scheduled for consent calendar and it went to the actual action item. So it received a presentation before City Council, and that was at 1680 Bryant Street, category downgrade. And the ultimate decision from City Council was that the downgrade was awarded to the applicant. And with that, I can entertain any questions that the board may have.
One note on the meeting schedule, I will be absent on February 12th.
Thank you.
And then for the downgrade, has the recording of that meeting been posted on YouTube yet?
Yes,
Okay.
It is posted on the city's meeting and agendas website.
Is this an appropriate time to comment on that without going overboard? I just want to say that we were admonished, I can't say that word because it doesn't happen to me, by one of our most ardent supporters on the board, on the council, Pat Burt. And I think that speaks to the fact that we did not defend our decision, that I don't think we really thought council was going to respond to our decision, so we were a little cavalier, but I think the result was that the reasoning that was presented in the staff report is not anything that, maybe it was briefly mentioned on our meeting, but it was certainly not the reasons I put the motion forth. So I think that in the future, what we need to learn from this is we need to support our decisions to council, not because, you know, even if we don't think it'll change their mind, I think we need to have them understand that we are being responsible in doing our jobs, because we got pretty insulted there.
Yeah, I want to go back and watch the recording because all I have is that clip that was in the newspaper of what he said about admonishing the HRB. I need to see the detail and potentially reach out to him. We'll see. Okay, if there's no more comment on that one, we can move to the next agenda item.
To the chair, Councilmember Liu is joining us virtually.
Oh, great.
And so I'm going to allow him to join us.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, by the way. I'm not feeling well, so I think better for everyone for me to join this remotely. Just wanted to give a couple of comments about the downgrade on Bryant. I think to council's benefit, but not necessarily the HRB, we did have more context. So the applicant actually presented and their architect presented and explained a bunch of challenges with the site and went through some pretty detailed photos and context of what that site previously looked like and what that and exactly sort of how the building was manipulated and demolished over time. Pointed to the precedent of since the lot was split, how the previous half of the property was developed, and how I believe that the sort of historical designation maybe was, or that its current historical designation may have been an oversight or sort of nullified by that partial demolition and new home construction. And so that context was missing from the HRB record, but really underlined a bunch of points from or gave a lot of color to points from the consultant's report and from some of the staff report. I think the point that I think the council was a little bit unfair in the sense that the criteria for how we designate and downgrade is not perfectly objective. I think somewhere in the council record, there's a comment saying like, well, our rules say that because it is so manipulated, it should be downgraded, and we don't want to change the rules on the fly. But the rules are also a little bit fuzzy about what we determine. There are also some sort of fuzzy definitions about architectural merit, I believe. Overall, I think council did not find the architectural merit to be sort of so overwhelming that it overrode some of the other considerations just about the integrity of the structure. So we were pretty unanimous, both in the final vote and in discussion. I think it's a reference point for the HRB. I think the point about defending the HRB's decision is valid. Like we did not have the benefit of hearing the HRB's perspective, sort of represented by the HRB as well. So that's the context. Happy to answer any questions. Yeah, I think the point about following precedent is the main point. That I'm not here to like deliver the admonishment, but the point is that we want as much predictability as we can get.
Yeah, and that's not an admonishment. I mean, the purpose of this body is to take the rules and make our best judgment based on what was presented. And what was presented to the HRB was not equal to what was presented to council. We did not have all of the information to make the same determination that council was able to make. So I think that admonishment is pretty, again, haven't watched the recording, but I think that's pretty out of place for him to say that and admonish one of the volunteer, mind you, boards who is doing this as a service to the integrity of Palo Alto's historic resources. So I think that's pretty short-sighted for him to say that, frankly. But again, I'll go back and watch the recording and take it up with him. It sounds like, I believe that this council always makes the best decision with the information that is presented before us and based on the fluidity of our ordinance. We did it that day, and I'll leave it at that.
Can I ask a question of Councilman Liu? During the city council meeting, did any neighbors come in the public comment section for that project? Because I believe we had some neighbors come in the public comment section here actually in support of keeping the historic designation, neighbors who saw value to the property. So I'm just curious to know whether there were any neighbors also in the public comment section with the council.
I don't think there were in person. I don't remember if we got any email public comment, but if we did, we got very little.
Okay, because, I also saw the article written about it, and the article said that, I think the way they phrased it, in a rare split between the city council and the HRB, But it wasn't, in my opinion, just a rare split between the city council HRB. It seemed like almost a rare split between the HRB neighbors and the city council.
I think that there are a few things we should do in the future. One is that it was originally on the consent calendar, and I asked about that in November and was told, yes, it was on the consent calendar. And when it went onto the agenda, we were not notified and we did not have a December meeting. So we need to rectify that in the future. That was a failure. I think that at least one of us would have been there if we'd known it was on the agenda. And not to say we couldn't have checked every council agenda, but bad habits. And then I think the other thing is that when staff writes a report about what we've said, I think it would be good if at least one HRB member was to review it before it was published, because I felt that the reasoning that was presented to council about why we kept it as a category 2 was incorrect, that it still maintains its viability in 3 categories, which is very unusual. It's an architect that's not well representative in Palo Alto, but he's very well known in the Bay Area. It's a style that's not represented in Palo Alto, but it's a very significant prairie style architecture. And I don't remember the third one, but it is, in my mind, it qualifies strongly as a category 2, and our failure is not communicating that to council.
If I may, through the chair, Jennifer Armour, Assistant Director, I just wanted to share with the board that working on ensuring that our summaries to council of what the action was, whether it's here at the board, the ARB, or the Planning and Transportation Commission. That is an effort that we've been working on, making sure that we give complete and accurate summaries. There's been discussion about how do we ensure that staff work is strong and accurate. And we've actually had this very discussion with the PTC about that and concerns about how it's been in the past. And I think we are working and successful in improving that significantly, including an update, but we don't get it right every time. Or it may be that some members of the board may disagree with how we characterize it, and that's fine. What the PTC discussion led to was the idea that, staff work, we've got such short timelines, we don't really have the capacity to have extra review in that process, but that we do invite you to review the staff report once it's published, which generally is a week and a half before the meeting occurs. And so there's an opportunity there for you then to provide comments individually. Of course, we don't necessarily have a board meeting, or to join the meeting and be available to answer questions. And that's something that we would welcome. I think we will work to be better about communication when we expected it to be on consent, and then the director made the decision that it should be a discussion item. So that was a change that we didn't initially anticipate. And so getting feedback, hearing those comments when you do see those staff reports, we do welcome that. And we just wanted to make sure you knew that actually is an active effort to make sure that, especially when it's a split vote, that there's an explanation, not just about what the recommendation was, but what was discussed and what the concerns were. And then if there was a robust discussion, having some of those points in writing as well, because we don't all have time to go back and review the meeting, watch it in its completeness. One other thing that is a little bit different about HRB, since you do have a council representative who joins your meetings, rather than for the other two, the ARB and PTC that the PDS department supports, they actually have a liaison designated, or the chair designated, to attend council meetings if there is an item going forward for discussion that went to them beforehand. So that's a little bit different, since you actually do have a council member joining your meetings. But you are always invited to join the meeting and be available to answer questions if you'd like.
Well, yeah, I think if we'd known about the meeting, we probably would have. And I'm not upset about council's decision. I think that they do not have the same parameters we do. And if they want to pick any category, I thought it was a little strange that they nominated the properties, or they accepted the nominations, I guess, that we made of the properties that we're adding to the inventory. Those are all ones and twos. And this house is much stronger than most of those twos, I must say. So I think also part of what this learning experience is for us is we need to work on our ordinance, because we need to define, what are our categories? How do we feel about them? What is the difference between a 2 and a 3? And I also thought it was a little surprising, but I wasn't unhappy that council did not seem to realize that we don't have any demolition protection in Palo Alto, which I don't like to articulate very often, but they seem to think there was a much stronger protection for a Category 2 than a Category 3, which I don't think is true in practice.
All right, onward.
All right. Moving along here, let me share my screen. The Historic Resources Board Awards. Recommendation for today would be to review the attached list of 159 projects and decide on an award-winning projects. At our last meeting, we had discussed 9 award categories, and I'll have those on another slide right here. And kind of at the tail end of that discussion, perhaps we can discuss setting a date, kind of working back from that on what number of awards and that coordination with those award members would look like, as well as the evaluation and criteria process. So here are our previous meetings as detailed in that staff report that we've discussed the Historic Resources Board Awards at length. And at that last meeting, we had our 9 award categories that we had developed to evaluate these 159 projects. So going forward, as for some next steps and kind of guiding this discussion here, I received kind of a mixed bag, if you will, from feedback from some of the board members of either sending in some slides or photos, or perhaps just annotating the Excel document. So we'll start with the photos, and then we'll go, I think, probably and work in that Excel document and kind of dwindle that down as the discussion goes. So for those next steps, kind of 3 simple ones detailed on the screen here, narrow down the project list, select 9 or more projects from that 9 award categories. And that third item would be what I just mentioned, is setting that ceremony date and follow-up actions. That would include contacting those award winners, securing the event space, the City Hall lobby, and preparing those award certificates. So, starting off.
I just want to check in with the board. Did everybody feel like they had a chance to at least look at the list, kind of digest the ones that were assigned to you? How are we feeling?
Well, I'd like to mention that I didn't finish this until yesterday afternoon. I came down on Tuesday morning and I spent the last 2 days doing this. I've taken photographs, I have notes, I have all that. I can produce a list in a while, but discussing it, I have nothing to offer to you today in terms of the photographs or a list, because I did not submit them.
Yeah, and that's okay. And let me be clear, there was no, we didn't expect anybody to like come with photographs, or I did, just because that's how I organize my thoughts. But if you are ready to speak to list, that's great.
So also, I did visit sites. I have photographs. I did not submit them or write them up, but I'm I am ready to speak to sort of what I've seen.
Yeah, I'm ready to speak to it. I provided notes, but not photographs. And I do think it would be helpful as we're considering these projects, maybe if we like kind of narrow the list down further today, it might make sense to come back next time with photos of the ones on our list that are, kind of still in the round of
And I
consideration.
think maybe a little more research too, because, just walking around, it's kind of hard to make a decision unless it's very obvious. So I think that we could do more on that too.
That was an issue for me as well. I couldn't see a lot of the things that were listed, and had an interesting experience in Crescent Park where private security approached me. It wasn't our most famous citizen there. No, it was a different one, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Take that one offline. I want to hear about that.
I would also agree that sometimes I had difficulty figuring out what the scope of work was, so I made my best guess. I know also we had talked about potentially acknowledging ADUs in some cases. And I think it's actually really good that like the ADUs weren't placed directly in front of the historic homes, but it made them hard to find. So I couldn't always identify where the ADU was or see it really at all.
Let's see what we get through today. I do want to be aware and call to the board's attention that we are working on a compressed timeline. And if we do decide that we are not ready to make final determinations today, we will all need to hold hands and split up the work of actually doing the research and come back for our next meeting with a solid determination. So I just want to make everybody aware of that.
Thank you for that. And starting perhaps with the chair's items that were submitted.
Sure. So I went through the ones assigned to me, and of the properties assigned to me for residential, these three stood out, right? This is my first slide? I'm like,
Yes.
Okay, great. That said, I also did take time to go through the entire list, and I have another slide of ones that would be up for discussion. The first one, 771 Lytton, the project is not finalized, is one thing I noticed on the list. So if that is going to be an impediment to awarding, I want to call that out. It's a category 4, it's a 1926 little casita bungalow. They're doing a huge foundation repair, which is pretty significant. It's not a super shiny, look at me project, but it is very fundamental to the preservation of this project. So that is my nomination for preservation. Again, this is from my small list of 36. So rehabilitation, 221 Kingsley, beautiful 1902 bungalow, craftsman bungalow, category 2. They've fully rotated the house and relocated it on the lot to make it usable for their lifestyle and purpose, which I welcome, rather than tearing it down or adding on an unsightly addition. They re-roofed it, added a garage, added a basement. Really great example of rehabilitation, and the property is stunning, and this is what it looks like. I go by it all the time. And then restoration, 501 Kingsley. I was nervous about this one, but it turned out beautifully. There was a 1970s edition of a trellis that was disgusting, and they completely tore it down. The house looks beautiful. The 1970s solarium and pergola trellis thing, it was very obviously not original to the house, and they totally got rid of it. And they did a bunch of other upgrades as well, and it turned out beautifully. It's really great.
Yep. Can I just add, I think this has multiple units now too.
Oh, interesting.
I think there are at least 2 and maybe a third.
So is it not single family anymore?
I might be an ADU and JADU situation.
Interesting. Okay. More research.
How did you source the before photograph?
The before photograph was actually you mean the one in the top left
Yeah.
that's in progress? That is what's on Google Maps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
So
the
it was
bottom,
dated there, and got lucky.
yeah, I got lucky. And the bottom right, I actually took, and I've been going by this house for 5 years, so I remember what it looked like before. I don't have a picture of what it looked like before they started the work. So should I go on to my next three before we kind of have everybody present, and then we'll like circle back, I guess? Yeah.
Can I supplement the, I want to say Kingsley, the Bryant Street, no, where is it? The Fowler Mansion. I'm just going to call it the Fowler Mansion.
Thank you.
221 Kingsley, which is now facing, what is it facing?
Yes.
Ramona?
No, I think now it faces Kingsley,
No,
because the address is 221 Kingsley.
I know, but it was facing Kingsley, and I don't think anybody changed the address. So when it first happened, I was distressed. I mean, that house, the front yard was humongous, and that house was obviously the anchor house in the neighborhood. But I've mellowed, and now that block, the 1100 block of, I don't remember, oh, Ramona, it's Ramona. Did you go by this one, Christian? So the 1100 block of Ramona, this blends very well. It does not stand out as what it was. It is no longer like, here I am, the anchor house of the whole entire Professorville neighborhood. But that block is very, very intact. There have been several projects, I think there were 4 projects in that block that were on our list. And I would suggest that if we wanted to do our, what do we call it, board's choice for neighborhood preservation, that might be a really lovely thing to do.
And you are 100% right, the door now faces Ramona.
Oh, yeah, I know.
100%.
Oh, it was painful for me, painful, sorry.
Let me do the 3 other residential from the entirety of the list. These are ones that I also picked out. I don't know.
I just want to note, I also had 215 Fulton appear on my list, and I flagged it independently.
Oh, amazing.
So
So these are the 3.
Anyway. I flagged 9944
Microphone?
Cowper also.
Microphone?
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I actually had the first and third one
Perfect.
on my list.
Love it.
Yeah.
So 215 Fulton, there are 4 houses in Palo Alto that are identical or near identical from the facade. This is one of the 3 remaining. I didn't put the notes here of what exactly they did. Alyssa, I'll defer to you when you present this one or when you have notes on it. 1143 Bryant, it was fire damaged. And I think that's significant for, I guess that would be restoration or rehab. Yeah, that would be restoration. Mostly interior, I will say, from basically the pictures I saw from after the fire and the pictures of what it looked like before. But I think it's significant. Somebody loved this house enough to get it back up to a livable condition, which I think is really admirable. And again, I am looking at all of these projects through the lenses of preservation, rehabilitation, and restoration, per what we have already decided. And then 944 Cowper, I love this property. This property is so beautiful. It's a category 4, and all they've done, and they've maintained it so beautifully. Talk about great stewardship. They recently repaired the stucco and painted it, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a multifamily property, little, not quite a bungalow core, it's just kind of like a multiplex, all 1 story. Those are my residential ones. Should I go on to commercial, or what do you think? Yeah, okay. Commercial, tons of beautiful projects that have been done. Obviously, the President Hotel? That's not what it's called. Graduate Hotel, the barn, the museum, obviously, women's clubs in there. I want to call your attention to the Peninsula Creamery, kind of a sleeper on this list. Next slide, please. This is my kind of standout that I would really like to award in the commercial category, and they did they recently celebrated their 100-year anniversary. It has not, sorry, go back to the other slide. All of the other projects on this slide have been awarded by other architectural or historical bodies. Everything else has been recognized. Peninsula Creamery has not, or Creamery Dairy Store in particular. It recently celebrated its 100-year anniversary. It is still family-owned. If you can go back to the next slide, Stephen. They recently completed accessibility upgrades, which they did voluntarily, which I think is phenomenal because people still use this. There are articles that say, so-and-so goes there daily and has a turkey sandwich and a Coke and a candy bar. And I just think it's adorable. And I think it is, I think, at risk of shutting down or being redeveloped because the owner says in one of the articles, it doesn't make any money. They're doing it because they love it. And so I think we could bring some really amazing visibility to this treasure of Palo Alto.
That also appeared on my list. I don't know why.
I went through all of them.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I went through all of them. That was what I had agreed to in a previous meeting, so I just went through everything. Thank you. Okay, that concludes my presentation.
Moving along to the vice chair's projects that were submitted, or project, should I say. Received some photos yesterday regarding the 450 Bryant Street. So just have those here on the screen.
So I like the fact that I could actually find what they did to the building, because I had been looking at all these other projects and having a hard time identifying the projects. But the building is beautiful. It's the old fire and police building. And what used to be in the back was a city council, City Hall, that burned down. So they recently ripped off the, no, not that recently, but somewhat recently, ripped off the back of the building, the additions that were on the back, and built this new complex. And I think that it separates very well. I think it benefits from the fact that there is street frontage and a parking garage in the back, that it accommodates. And if you look at the projects on Ramona, they are, this architecture blends very well with those, and also with the parking lot. But I really like the fact that this building is actively used, that they maintained the original facades and have really done a nice job of accommodating its historic nature, but also adding on what they needed without really conflicting with the original building.
That's awesome. It's National Register. It's a great rehabilitation project because it clearly says in the scope of work that they took off the non-original 1978 edition. So yeah, that's awesome.
All right, well, that is the end of the photos. So we can go to the Excel document now.
If I can make a suggestion, that maybe we just go down the line and have each board member present the standouts from their portion of the list, and perhaps, Stephen, you can bring up pictures from either Google Images or Palo Alto Stanford History, so that we can see something, or if you have, pictures too.
I would prefer not to do that on the fly. I actually wanted to sit down and go through everything I gathered and look at it a little bit more carefully.
Okay, so do you not have like a sense of recommendations for your list, or?
No, I really was concentrating on getting everything together in the last 2 days, and
Okay.
I can do this probably this weekend, so.
Okay.
All right, if I may chime in here. So if, following along with just what was submitted, we can perhaps go on to Eagleson Cheselwitz's notes in the Excel document, and then
Oh, you have notes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have
Got it.
written notes.
from there, we perhaps can have perhaps like a reduced list that
Yeah.
could be sent out from here, and barring, what board member pieces said, if there's no dwindling down of that award category or the short list, then that carries over to the next discussion, so.
We can absolutely work with that, especially because if we get to some kind of consensus between the ones that have been reviewed today, we can kind of earmark those. And then if board member Peace has anything that he wants to bring that he feels is more of merit than what we currently have bookmarked, that's great. That's a great way to dwindle the list, so. Yeah.
All right, well, let me share my screen here.
So for mine, just kind of a general note, I did flag some projects that just had sort of generally sensitive additions. You know, I think we may not want to award any of them. We may, you know, it's a little hard to, in some ways, to distinguish like one good addition from another good addition. Like, so, you know, kind of making a selection within that may be challenging and may not be where we want to go anyway. But I did like note those like on the spreadsheet just so we have that information available. The one I would like to flag in that kind of sensitive addition category is 840 Kipling. And the reason why I want to note this is that it's a sensitively done addition in a really challenging site. It's a substandard lot. It's pretty constrained. And I think they did a really good job with it. The house still maintains a historic character. It looks different than that now.
It's pink now.
It's blue now.
It's blue now,
That's
thank
old.
you.
Yeah, and it now has a second story. It does, but it's placed pretty far back, and they worked with the site, and I think that the ones I saw, that sends, I think, a really nice message about how it is possible to modify a historic home in a way that creates livability for today on a site that's challenging and in a way that's sensitive to the historic context of the property. So I really liked that one.
And which category would you propose that would fit best in?
So I kind of had rehabilitation question mark. Yeah. So, you know, some of these I actually kind of had a hard time with how I would categorize with what the categories we're using. Similarly, I did flag the multifamily development on Cowper Street. I have it as 952 Cowper, but I think it has multiple addresses. You know, that it was the only multifamily project on my list, but I love that there's preservation work going on. I think it could also qualify as a small project, kind of depending upon how we wanted to frame it. But I did note that one. I also did note 215 Fulton, which you had seen as well. And to me, that looked like they were just dealing with a lot of old house stuff. You know, it was like the roof repair, there were sagging issues, there were foundation issues. It was like sort of the one fell swoop overhaul of things that just need to be taken care of in a house that age. And I think that is fantastic. I also had 1023 Forest, which is awesome. It's come before the board, but they are not finalized and they're not done. And so my suggestion is to please continue this project to the next award cycle, where I think it will be fantastic to see it in its final form. Yeah. So those were some of my favorites. I also did want to note, like, because, you know, you mentioned a foundation project where it was like, this is just a foundation rehab. I had one of those too at 1330 Cowper. That was one of those where it was hard to tell from the information I had what that scope of work looked like. And I really do like the idea of a homeowner going in and doing voluntary seismic upgrades to their foundation. That's fantastic. Again, I don't know how we differentiate one project of that variety from another, but I think it's fantastic that they're doing it. So I don't know if we just want to have some sort of honorable mention to everyone who fixed their foundation of their own accord or something, but it's great that they did that. And then there were a few others I flagged for various reasons, like you can, see it on the sheet, but, and a couple of open questions, but those were my kind of top ones. I only had one commercial property and I didn't think it was, it actually looks like the work is interior and only partially complete and it's vacant. So it wasn't, up for consideration, really.
Amazing. Great work. Amazing notes. Very thorough.
Oh, and sorry, last thing. I did find a few that I think are now new construction and noted those. Yeah. Okay.
Super helpful. I also, to your point about there being one commercial project on your list and it wasn't very compelling, I don't want us to feel like we have to award in every single category. If there is not a compelling adaptive reuse commercial project, there is. But if there's not, for example, we don't feel like we have to award one.
So I want to say I also went through and was looking for sort of sensitive additions and well-done additions. And I don't know, the way I kind of prioritized them was I started with the properties that just were really gorgeous to start with. And then if it's done really well, then it stays gorgeous. And probably the highest one on my list was 512 Coleridge, which is a Spanish revival. I think it was built in 1902 or something. Spanish revival home, and it had a pretty extensive addition. It was 600 square foot on the first floor, and then a 1,700 square foot basement. And it looks, and a garage addition, detached garage addition, and it looks flawless. I mean, it looks like it was all built in 1902. So anyway, that easily made my list. There was another one at 755 Hamilton, which is a shingle style that originally was single story that added a second story. Yes?
Yeah, sorry, what was the second one?
755 Hamilton. And I can't ever imagine how it was ever single story. It looked like it, always was two-story. I mean, that to me just told me it was really well done. So under preservation, I had 325 Melville. Again, it's a beautiful house, and the scope of work shows that there's quite a bit of interior remodel. They actually relocated the kitchen, and quite a few walls were redone. But if you look at the outside of this house, you can tell it's all original. So for them to be able to be moving around so much on the inside and not really affect the outside, to me, it was pretty.
You said 325 Melville?
Yes. Oh, really? Okay.
Or, I mean, all I physically see from the picture.
From the street view, so actually, I did this one, and I couldn't see it either from the street, but I did it from Google Google Earth. So from Google Earth, you can see the massing of the house and everything around it, and you can do sort of the 3D, and that's also how I was able to look at some of the detached garages. There was one added at 345 Coleridge, and that one, the roof massing of the garage and the material and everything is really very, very sensitive to the house. You won't see it from the street, but you can see it from Google Earth. And then the last thing that I had on my list for commercial was 1451 Middlefield, and that actually was the installation of the roof on the Junior Museum and Zoo. And again, when you go by that, it all looks very, very consistent and very seamless. So there's nothing that I think was done that detracts from the aesthetics of the original structure. Yes?
Yeah, I'd like to see the plans on that one. I thought they demolished the old building and built a new one, on the Junior Museum.
Really?
So I think all of these, we would like to see the plans
Okay.
before we make decisions.
The scope of work just says composite shingle, roof replacement, and then material modifications. So it doesn't say anything about a demolition and new construction.
What year is that?
Actually,
2018.
okay. Now, again, it doesn't say finalized, so I don't know.
Yeah, so there's, if we go back to, say, some of these items on the list, this was the planning entitlement. There was duplicates for the associated, say, building permit that was tied with this. So this was the planning entitlement for that, the roof repair for the project.
So is it still, what, do commercial properties not have a category in terms of resource?
So this is located on the, let's see here, the same property as the Lucy Stern, the category 1. If we look at the APN.
Okay. So it would be considered a category 1?
So the Junior Museum and Zoo is not under that category 1 designation. So.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you.
I'm actually, so I live near 325 Melville. I'm having trouble, like, just seeing that. I'm having trouble associating that with a property. Is it on that pedestrian walkway?
So, again, from what I saw from Google Earth, that the main house is behind the garage.
Yeah, it's really hard to see.
Yeah.
It's this one.
I think that's a single-family mid-century home.
It is.
Yeah,
It's 60s.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why that's on.
That, there is a home like on an alley behind those properties that's much older, but it has a, it's a, what is, it's a different address.
Oh, maybe I'm,
There's an address
okay,
on
maybe
the
I'm
alley
seeing the
there.
wrong home on Google Earth. Okay.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I think to your point, Geddes, what comes up on, when you type in 325 Melville, is it's a mid-century ranch. I wonder if,
yeah, what's the name? There's an alley right behind that I can't, and I'm blanking on the name, but Waverly, is it Waverly Terrace? I think the old home that is back there has.
Whitman Court.
Whitman Court, thank you.
Used to have that address.
Whitman Court has, I think, 2 homes with addresses on Whitman Court, and I think the old one has the Whitman Court address and like abuts the back
I
of
just
the-
walked by,
Yeah.
yes, this is a beautiful little alleyway. I literally walked by it 2 days ago. I don't know which, because there's a little, I mean, there's multiple addresses on that back street.
Yeah,
So I do wonder,
it's
Which one is it?
the one with the ivy
one?
here. That one
That one's
is what's
gorgeous.
behind those 2 mid-century properties. So like Melville has those 2
So-
mid-century homes and then, yeah.
So what's listed here is the older home? Or
No,
or
I
is
have
it the mid-century modern
The
home?
mid-century, I think. Yeah, I think
okay.
the mid-century home has the 325 Melville address.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
okay,
Got it.
well, beautiful property, unfortunately not.
And I think it may be, 325 Melville may be under construction again, I think. I think it's getting a second story right now. Yeah, okay.
Great, okay, so I mean, so excellent example of like why now that we have kind of a working preliminary list a little bit, why we need to deep dive.
Yes.
Stephen, thoughts, next steps?
So I've highlighted or bolded, should I say, on the Excel sheet, the items here. And if I actually go back to my notes, I can add in your properties. And for next steps moving forward, perhaps we can remove items off the list the items that perhaps from what was presented here that weren't identified, and citing those properties that need to be carried over, either if they're pending or not, to the next year's award. So I've created a duplicate of the document here, so I'll just edit in real time, and we can kind of dwindle down from there. And I think that probably would be the best step forward.
Are we looking at the short list right now?
Yes.
Well, because I don't
but
remember
not
seeing
yet.
any from Green Meadow.
Not yet shortened.
Oh, not yet. Oh, okay, so,
This is what we'll be working from, and of course, then also recognizing that board member pieces, items would then be updated once we get input from him
so
over the
could
weekend.
we view this, Stephen? Could we, like, quickly highlight in a different color and call out all the ones that myself, board member Ulinskis, and board member Eagleson-Chelzowitz and Vice Chair Willis highlighted today
Yes.
to get a working list?
I want to put one out there from Christian's list. 1040 Ramona is on a really lovely block in Professorville that's fairly intact. And they moved the garage from the front to the back, and so that it's much more in context with the rest of the street. And I think that might be something to consider.
Like,
So while we're being quiet, as far as the board's choice, I also keep going back to the Thwaites brothers. I don't know if that's the name of the company or not, but Thwaites, and their request to upgrade their buildings on Kipling, and how they've done such a nice preservation job in town. I think they've set a really nice tone. And I think a board choice of preservationist to Thwaites might be a really nice thing to consider.
I like that as putting it down as on the list for board's choice, put Thwaites Brothers. For commercial, basically based on what we've seen, what was the one that you presented, Caroline? It was,
Mine was a police and fire.
oh, it was 450 Bryant.
Yeah, sorry.
We could also acknowledge those Thwaites Brothers projects as commercial properties.
Totally.
Yeah.
What I am doing on my list is I am kind of putting them, the commercial at least, since that list is pretty small, into categories. So for instance, the Women's Club, we could award them a preservation award.
So I want to question.
Hold on.
What they
Let me finish. Let me finish. Rehabilitation, the creamery project that I presented would be a rehabilitation, as would 450 Bryant. Restoration, I don't have one. I don't have one right now. And then adaptive reuse, the museum's like a very easy shoe-in. Okay, go ahead.
Well, the Women's Club, I definitely like to see the plans for what we're giving an award for, because hurt me deeply when they cut into the stage to do a handicapped access lift.
It's rehabilitation, though.
It was painful, unnecessary. I gave them alternatives. They weren't willing to listen.
Oh, just speaking to the Creamery project too, depending upon how we want to mix and match categories, small project may be an option for them as well.
Although we don't have that for commercial technically.
Yeah. No reason we couldn't, though.
I guess, yeah, it's true.
I mean, I wouldn't mind considering the Creamery project for a board choice.
I second that wholeheartedly.
It's such a sort of like community hub.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's like a great example for speaking to Caroline, how we, in our meeting earlier this week, you spoke to setting a precedent with these awards for other boards going forward. I think that would set a really good precedent.
Yeah.
How we doing, Stephen?
He's making good progress,
Okay, great.
working out the ones from
I was
the,
like, great, so can you do this right now?
in the meeting.
In the meeting. It's a working meeting now.
Yeah. What we're doing is we're going through, for each of the groups, for those of you who did go through and identify the addresses that you recommended moving forward. And for any that you didn't, kind of blacking that out on the spreadsheet so we can highlight those that are currently still in consideration.
Amazing. And then,
We're nearly to the end, it looks
no
like.
problem. And then I think what we could do once we have that list of both residential and commercial, and then of course, Christian, I want you to do your due diligence on your list. And then if there's anything that you think, like I said, trumps what the short list we've done, we can review that. I think what we can do is split up the short list by maybe 2 board members for property, or I don't know, we'll see how many we have. And then assign board members to do that deep work with going into Palo Alto Building Eye and looking at the permits, or looking at the project and doing a site visit and coming back to the board and making a recommendation based on that. Thoughts?
I'd just like us to consider that maybe throwing it back to the committee, because I do think we're ignoring our other task, and I think actually doing the inventory update is like sort of lagging. I know you sent it to me finally, and I haven't gone back to you, but I feel like we've really been focusing just on this, and I think that in reality we'll get more use out of having an updated inventory that's easily accessible and legible and understandable.
Wait a minute. Okay, if you don't want to work on this project, you can work on that project, and we'll split up the rest between ourselves. That's fine too. But this project has a firm deadline. And so for myself, I am going to be really excited when the HRB can say, we did this. One of our 5 work plan goals, we actually check box, done. It can fall off the work plan because we have done it. So I'm focusing on this one right now. If you want to focus on the inventory, that is you're doing God's work, so.
Nearly done.
I will take just as we're going to start kind of divvying these up for deeper research. I'm very passionate about the creamery, so I volunteer to take on doing some deeper research for that one, either in terms of a rehabilitation project or a board's choice project. I can make a recommendation once I do that research, so I will take that one.
I just sort of, since we have a second, I wanted to like note something I'm observing on Google Maps, like, because I definitely used it as a resource for, some of what I was doing, but then also visited the properties, and like, Google Maps is not fully up to date, which is great, like, it doesn't update in real time, right? Which is both a good and a bad thing. In some cases, it allowed me to see what the house looked like before the work took place, which was fantastic. But in some cases, like looking at Google Maps, it didn't show me what the house looked like now. Like we just saw that on the one I mentioned where it wasn't up to date, which was kind of cool to see what it looked like, but it also doesn't indicate current condition. So I ended up kind of using it both ways, but just kind of wanted to note that that had been my observation with that tool.
And
Yeah, and I feel,
oh, sorry. I was going to jump in and add, you talked about being able to see the past view of the one that was under construction, but not knowing what it looked like before. In most cases, you can actually look back at previous dates as well. So that is another feature that if you've got, definitely go visit the site to see what it currently looks like, because as you said, it's often not really up to date because they only do them these drive-throughs so often, but you can go back to multiple dates in the future. For example, sometimes it's useful to go to one that's at a different time of year so the trees aren't as full, and so you can actually see the house more fully. Things like that can be useful in that research.
Great point. The ones I presented, I feel, I'm pretty confident about all of these, except for maybe the one that was fire damaged. I need to go by that one. All of the others I have seen like within the last month. So not specifically for this purpose. I just walk around and look at a lot of houses, so.
All right, let me share my screen. And we can get this organized. Okay. So let's go here. All of the blue from P's will remain. Then we have these blocks of black.
Stephen, do you mind filtering out the black and the blue? So we just view the ones that,
Yes.
thank you.
Let me organize that.
Yep. And then pulling column G over, so the description's a little bit longer.
Okay, bear with me.
Yep.
Where do you filter it? Where it goes to the top. Okay, this. Yeah. Custom sort. I didn't do that.
Shall we take a 5-minute break? You guys can
Sure,
get some more
yes, I
coffee.
would love that.
Then we'll finish this up.
Thank you. Great suggestion. from our recess? Perfect. So Stephen has taken the list down to the ones that we have picked out, and I've asked him to withhold board member pieces projects so that we are just looking at the ones that we talked about today. And then we can either take some of these out right now or decide to divvy them up, research, and come back.
Can I add two more now that you're done? And you don't have to add them to the list right now, but if you could, I'd like to add 165 Channing, which is Watercourse Way, which had a minor project, but I find it sort of sits bigger than it is in its space, and I think it's a really nice historic landmark in Palo Alto. And the other one is 951 Channing. And I really couldn't tell what they did to this building, but it is the house that has the water tower attached. So it is definitely a Palo Alto landmark. And I think it would be nice to look at what they actually did and see if that is something we wanted to give an award to.
And the first address again?
165 Channing.
All right.
Thank you.
On mine, you can remove 575 Hawthorne in the context of what we've seen. I think they're better candidates.
All right.
And on mine, let's remove 325 Melville. That was sort of a brain fog moment of mine. And actually, I think I'd like to add 345 Coleridge in its place.
Three, 4, 5?
Yes, 345. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so this is mixed residential and commercial right now.
So we are looking at, let's see here, 18 projects.
Including, between residential and commercial?
Yes, just
Okay.
18 projects in total.
Board members Ulinskis and Eagleson Cheselwitz, do you want to split up this list between the three of us? Does someone want to take all of commercial and then two of us split the residential? I'm open to suggestions.
So I would love to have, like at this stage, multiple people have their eyes on each project. So one person's not like making like kind of the sole decision on individual properties. So if there's a way to kind of like round robin it so that there's overlap.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to take the whole, how should I say, compiled list of the ones we've narrowed down to, and I'd like to go actually view plans for the whole list, and I'll take on the responsibility of viewing plans. Now, chances are I'll only really be able to see plans for half of them or whatever. So whatever I'm able to see, I'll see, but I will look at the whole list and sort of like to contribute that to the research of really, now, again, I can't get copies of what I see, but I can take notes and I can sort of do little shorthand diagrams of what I see, and then I can kind of bring that back to the group.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, and I mean, it's 18 projects. I want to look at this list as a whole as well. And I think I can commit to being prepared for our next meeting, coming back and based on this list, making some recommendations and assigning categories and having some notes as to why I made those recommendations. At that time as well, we can consider board member pieces, recommendations from his list.
Also, I want to add board member piece. If you want to email me once you've condensed your list, I'll add that to what I look at City Records.
Can I send this list to you over the weekend, and can you incorporate it in and send it to everybody? Is that okay?
Yes, that would be appropriate.
There's no
yeah.
issue with that?
No
And I
issues
can
with
include
that.
photographs if I like?
That's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, so we're looking at 18 projects here. I'm happy to send this reduced list out to just all of the board members, just kind of a recap of the meeting that we had here. And following the information sent over by board member Peace, I can compile that and then create kind of a, whatever the projects out of his 30 or so, and add to that list, and we can move forward with those.
I think that sounds like an excellent plan.
And
Sorry?
if I may again, so moving forward, just kind of next steps here and kind of what would be needed, say from this meeting, would be perhaps an action just to continue this item, and we can have that.
I do have one other thing I'd like to bring up, and that's the Cardinal Hotel. If I remember correctly, they requested and we upgraded the category of that hotel. Do I remember that right? Is that correct?
I believe your memory serves you right.
I thought that that was also an award that might be made by the board for this family that's maintained this property for decades and then came back to us and had it upgraded. Just a thought.
So I have one other question. I'm wondering if there's a mechanism for staff to also, like, either make recommendations or like let us know if we missed anything, because I know staff's often talking with applicants and may be aware of features to projects that like would be invisible to us. I don't know if there's like a mechanism for that or if it's appropriate, but I did want to note it because I think there may be, information out there that we don't have that staff would, see.
Happy to provide assistance on that.
So as far as forwarding this to the next meeting and continuing work, do I need to make a motion or are we?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, okay. I move to continue the process of review of the HRB awards list through our next cycle and come back in February.
I'll second.
All right. Board Member Pease,
Yes.
Board Member Ulinskis,
Yes.
Board Member Eagleson Cheswich,
Yes.
Vice Chair Willis,
Yes.
Chair Roman.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And before we move off this topic, are there any public comments on this agenda item?
We have not received any public comment cards or raise hands on Zoom.
Amazing. Then I think we can move on to approval of minutes.
Are there any friendly amendments or questions regarding those November 13th minutes? Perhaps some typos or grammatical errors that staff might have missed?
can't resist pointing out on the first page, Stephen, where I question why the item was on the consent calendar. And next time when you mislead me, please straighten me out afterwards. Under official report.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no changes, I move to approve the meeting minutes from November 13th.
I'll second.
All right. Board Member Eagleson Cheswich,
Yes.
Board Member Elinskis,
Yes.
Board Member Pease,
Yes.
Vice Chair Willis,
Yes.
Chair Roman,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay, any announcements or board business before we wrap up for today?
I have two things. One is I'd like to request that we agendize the inventory update for next month. It doesn't need to be a big discussion, but I would like the whole board to look at how we're structuring it and make some judgment calls about how we want to put it out there to the public. So I would appreciate if we could make a little time on the agenda next month for an inventory update discussion. I had a couple other things. I think that this one, maybe I should just talk to Steve and Samantha about, but I think that it would be good to move up our committee meetings of the chair, vice chair, and staff to a week, to before the agenda comes out. So that if we do have things that we want to work on for the agenda, or things we want to change, or things we think should be on the agenda that aren't, I think having that leeway would be good, if you can accommodate that. And this one is like random out of nowhere here, but on my walking, there was a house in Professorville that did not seem to meet Professorville guidelines. And so I think it would be nice in the future if we could agendize a discussion of how that came about. And it doesn't just need to be that. I think, you know, the Julia Morgan, it's a category 1 that has the back ripped off. I'd just like to understand more fully why it didn't come to the HRB as a project. So I think there's several things like that that might just benefit from us having discussions rather than, you know, decision-making or anything. We just having a little more background about how we interact with staff and how staff interacts with projects would be really helpful for me.
All right, well, thank you for those items.
Okay, and then if there's nothing else, I think we have our marching order. Stephen, we will look out for the abridged list. Super exciting, well done all. Love that we're moving this forward, very enthusiastic about it, so.
I just want to, if I may, 159 projects down to roughly, I think, 40 or so. I think that was a pretty good effort of today's discussion. So.
Yeah, very, very tangible results. Great. Thank you, everyone. I will close the meeting. We're adjourned.